Welcome to Odds On, a new punting podcast by Tab Touch. You can download the Tab Touch app or head to tabtouch.com.au if you're just listening now. If you want to watch, you can head to the Tab Touch YouTube channel for full episodes. They're going to come one after the other. I'm Shaun McManus, joined by the great man, Mark Reddings. Good morning to you, Skeet.
Hello, great to see you, Shawnee Mac. And as I sit opposite Will Schofield during the course of the footy season, if my cohort puts a foot out of place, we go after him. And that happened exactly this morning because we were ready to go. The lights were here, the cameras were set up for 10 a.m. No Shawnee Mac. Nowhere to be seen. Do you actually look at your WhatsApp ever?
I did, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure if this was for a previous meeting. Right, 11 o'clock was in my mind. You know what I was doing? I told Dan earlier. Dan's putting this together, and he's an absolutely fantastic human being. I went shopping for my wife, i.e. I did the grocery shopping at Woolies and Aldi because I thought I was treading water for the next hour. I'm so sorry.
You were desperate. You were But it is great to be here, and we know that we both love our footy, but we also love this time of the year with the Spring Racing Carnival, and great to be involved with Tab Touch. There's a saying, odds on, look on. Well, we hope that you're looking on for the next couple of months because we've got plenty to talk about. Primarily racing, but there's so much sport that Tab Touch is involved in. And I've got to be honest, I know you're a real racing diehard. I've got a soft spot for the multis in sport. Maybe because it gives me 2 or 3 hours of enjoyment. But yeah, we'll be able to mix and match a bit of that through the course of today's show as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Skeet. We'll be looking forward to catching up with Andrew Embley as we go through the series of podcasts throughout the summer. It's going to be great. He's a mad racing fan as well. Of course, we know a lot about other sports as well, Embers. That's going to be great fun as well.
Yeah, you say that. I just call him another victim. And that's all we love. We just love getting out there and trying to tell our listeners and our viewers perhaps some mail for the weekend, which you've got plenty. You've got some good racing mail, and we know what a big weekend it is in racing with the Cox Plate, which we'll touch on shortly.
We certainly will. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858, or you can visit the gamblinghelponline.org.au. And remember, any odds that we give out today, the time of recording, it is Thursday. We'll put this out later on today. They may change a bit, and particularly if we give out a tip, I'm imagining people just be winding those odds in sometimes.
They won't be able to help themselves. I was just taking money out. No, they'll be very, very responsible with the way they handle things. And I just reminded me because the last time you and I sat together talking about horse racing was in Bali about 2 weeks ago, and you can see my even my lily white legs have actually got a bit of a tan.
They have. I noticed that myself.
The beautiful weather up in Bali, it was fantastic. We went to a place called the Y Bar, and we were sitting there watching the Kalgoorlie Cup, I think it was. Suffice to say, we didn't get a result on that race. In fact, we got a couple of collects through Tab Touch, but nothing significant. But it's nice to be able to sit down after having a bit of a break, you and I.
Yes.
And now we can look ahead to, as I said, the Cox Plate and what's to come at Ascot this weekend.
You know the best thing about being overseas, we were able to use the Tab Touch Mobi app.
And
that was working beautifully. So internationally, we're able to chuck our bets on. We know that all the money goes back to participants in WA. I was all over it. And David Short, the great man, he joined us as well.
Shorty was there. It was a 50th birthday celebration. And as you would know, if you've been to the Y Bar, it's very male-dominated.
Yes.
It's very hot. It's very sweaty. But life's good. If you go up and collect a few of those red notes after a win, the afternoon just becomes a bit up and about, Shawnee Mac. And you were, even though you're cut to ribbons with your bloody surfing accidents and you've just had a neck operation.
Yes, I did. Yeah, just yesterday.
Meg, she texted me the other day, said he's a pain in the neck, he's a pain in the arse, but officially you've got the operation. But you're good to go.
Oh, I'm absolutely good to go. And you know what? We're going to get stuck into the show. What have we got coming up, in fact?
Yeah, plenty. We talked about the racing, and there is a lot. The Cox Plate, it is the last time the Cox Plate will be held at Moonee Valley under its current setup with the way that the course is configured. Flemington next year. But we'll touch on the Cox Plate. We know, as I say, racing at Ascot this weekend with the Belgravia Stakes. We've got the Northern Cup coming up as well this weekend. From a sporting perspective, we touched on the NBA, which just rolls on. I think it's an 80-plus game season. The defending champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, off to a really good start 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago when it came to a victory in double overtime against Houston. The Golden State Warriors were terrific on day one. So we'll touch on a bit of the NBA and where that sits at the moment. Formula One racing and Oscar Piastri going great guns. He and Lando Norris probably not on the same page at times, but of course racing in Mexico. The one-dayers continue. Australia, India. Saturday we'll focus on that. And look, let's be honest, the Ashes is the main course, but some interesting cricket being played, particularly for Mitch Marsh. And the EPL, Ange Postecoglou, Liverpool hitting a bit of a flat spot. So lots of sport to digest, and maybe if you're looking for some value, a couple of prices, we hopefully will point you in the right direction.
No doubt about it. Let's just kick off with the NBA. So yesterday got underway with the Lakers playing. No LeBron because he's struggling with sciatica at the moment. He didn't play in the preseason either. No. He's 100 years old, and we'll see if he gets through the season. And Bronny James, he wasn't out there too, so we'll see how that all...
Is Bronny going to make it? I know there's the romance of him and his dad playing together. Bronny's probably going to be a fringe player at best. Is that being a bit harsh?
No, it's not harsh. They were trying to run him as a point guard the other day and someone who carries the ball up. They got Austin Reeves, who plays that role as well for them as yesterday, and he had a pretty good game in the 20s for that game that they went down to the Warriors. By the way, Luka Doncic into that 43 hit yesterday.
Yeah.
So he had a day. Steph Curry, 23. But they've also, at the Warriors, Jimmy Bucket's the man, 31.
Yeah.
And when the big games are on the line, he really plays. It's an interesting thing with the LA Lakers. We could talk about them for an hour. They got sold for, was it $10 billion?
Billion. It wasn't million, billion. Extraordinary.
$10 billion.
That has to be. Look, you and I are probably not in this space of knowing which is the most valuable sporting franchise. It's got to be close.
No, it's close. I think I was checking this out the other day, and it's probably America's team owned by
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. It's probably just in front.
Yeah, Jerry Jones. And, of course, if you have I know we're changing direction here, but the NFL does continue as well. But if you haven't seen it, have a look at the Netflix documentary about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys going back to their halcyon days. But, yeah, you're right. The NBA up and running, heaps of games, and over the next 6 months it'll be full on, and quite a good representation from Australia. Dyson Daniels with a $152 million contract, 4-year extension with the Atlanta Hawks. So, yeah, look, it's early days, but you suspect that at some stage the Thunder will be thereabouts, and I'm hoping to see, a fairy tale story come through the NBA system in either whatever conference. But, yeah, we're one day in, so a lot to play out.
New York were playing today against Cleveland when I was leaving. That game hasn't finished yet. It was a pretty tight game. But yesterday's game with the Rockets, with the Slim Reaper himself, Kevin Durant, playing, he was up. They were up against the Thunder SGA.
What do you call him, the Slim Reaper?
He calls himself the Slim Reaper.
Oh, wow.
He's 7 foot. He reckons he's not. Like the old Spider Burton stuff, Spider Sandlands, they're not 7 foot, they're 6'11" and 3/4.
Yes.
But he was okay yesterday because the Rockets are going to have a really good team. Of course, the Thunder, which you mentioned, they'll be up the top there. But
Josh Giddey and all. Yeah, there's a lot to think about. He's, of course, moved on, but there's quite a few Australians. I think 12, 13 or 14 Aussies in there, and it's always nice to keep track on them.
Yeah, well, Kevin Durant signed a 2. You mentioned about Dyson Daniels with his $100 million contract. Kevin Durant 2 days ago signed a 2-year contract for $95.
Oh, geez.
Are you kidding?
What was your 2-year contract worked at the Fremantle?
Oh, my first year contract was $14,500, maybe $750 a game. And I was flying, mate. I spent that much money. I spent 3/4 out at Metros in Fremantle.
And the rest at Tab Touch. Yeah, there you go.
I absolutely did. F1, you mentioned earlier on about the Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris situation. Because it's interesting, he's in front by about 13 or 14 points at the moment, Oscar, that is. And Lando's breathing down his neck. But Max Verstappen's not going away. He's closing the gap massively at the moment between those two McLarens.
And the political nature of how this plays out between Norris and Piastri and what the team bosses want to play out. Obviously, they don't want them taking each other out, which is but not the ideal situation. But, yeah, I'm not across the nuances of Formula One racing to know whether it's better for the group or the team to have Norris win or Piastri win. Yeah, either way, it's fascinating to see how a bit like the Tour de France, how teams jostle and want a rider to be or driver to be the numero uno. So, yeah, it's still a handful of races to come. And, it's going to be a really exciting finish to the season.
Yeah, I just felt the other day, and I was making mention to some friends, when you saw Oscar Piastri getting interviewed after the last Grand Prix, so we've gone from Texas, which was last on the weekend, just gone. We're going to Mexico this weekend. The result will be out Monday, so we'll know then. But his body language once he'd finished that race and the way he was speaking, Skeet, he was really down in the dumps. And I know he's a young man. I know there's a lot of pressure on him, but he was flying there for quite some time. If he doesn't give a performance this weekend, I see that McLaren will go full tilt into Lando Norris taking this championship out.
Yeah, I think you're probably on the money there. Just there's a feeling that that's the way the owners are keen, but yeah, we're only guessing. But let's hope we're always going to back the Aussie bloke, and let's hope he continues to drive really well, including this weekend in Mexico.
Yeah, just for instance, so he's 14 points clear. For a win, so this weekend, you get 25 points. Second is 18. Third is 15, fourth is 12, and then it keeps going down by a couple of points from then on. So it's worth his weight in gold to finish top 2 and keep his season alive.
Man, for what it's worth, Max Verstappen, as we speak, we know these prices are subject to change. He's at even money, $2 to win in Mexico. Lando Norris at $3.75. Oscar Piastri at $5.
Oh.
There you go.
Well, that's people reading. That's people reading the play.
Yeah, probably. So there you go. That's part of what's happening with the Formula One.
Absolutely. A bit of cricket that we'll be able to see Australia play India in the second game later today, our time, which is Thursday, should I say, followed by the third game.
Saturday's when...
Saturday.
Saturday, Thursday and Saturday. So,
yep.
Look, let's be honest. I mean, I love my cricket more than anyone, but the one-day series, there's no World Cup in one day, 50-over cricket coming up. The T20s obviously has more importance because that's closer. The Ashes is the big one. But, yeah, there will always be a market, and we know the Indians like to have a look at tab touch occasionally as well. So, yeah, it's Virat Kohli, it's Rohit Sharma. Is it their last tour of Australia? Probably likely so. And, of course, Mitch Marsh, who continues to score really well. And I'm not a fan of him opening the batting for Australia as a test batsman, but he keeps his name before the selectors, A, because he's performing, B, he's such a great team man. So if there's injury to Webster or Green or both, Mitch, who thought, it's quite interesting hearing him talk about his last summer where he left the WA, the Scorchers set up, feeling as if he just needed a break. He'd been dropped from the test team, felt really down on himself. He thought his career is sort of really hit the skids, and he's had a break. I think he's got a child now.
Yeah,
so good on him, and he's much loved. But to have that new energy for the sport, and it's showing in his batting.
Oh, no doubt about it. He had a good performance against New Zealand before this ODI series against India and started well here in Perth. I think what I like about what he's doing at the moment, people are asking him about being back in the test team.
Yep.
I think he's a better player than Webster. And Green at the moment's got a side strain, so that'll be one to look after. But getting back to the way he's answered the questions and said, no, I'll be 6 beers deep by the time,
That'll be you and me.
Absolutely. But just take the heat out of it all the time. And if he gets a call from George Bailey along the journey as chairman of select and say, how about it, then I'm sure he'll jump at the opportunity.
Yeah, and that's the difference between Australian athletes, and particularly Mitch Marsh, and most Aussie athletes to the Americans, downplay, undersell, and if you get the chance, over-deliver. So, look, we know that Davey Warner's coming out and saying 5-0 Australia in the Ashes, and so too Stuart Broad, probably the other way. But no, Mitch Marsh, if he gets a chance, I'll tell you what, he's shown against the English a couple of years ago over there in the UK. He can score runs. So anyway, he's a bit of a long shot, but we'll keep an eye on him.
I was at the Y Bar when he hit that ton with Swampy, old man Swampy.
How many times were you at the Y Bar, Richard?
I reckon I saw you there as well. Anyway, that's for another day. EPL has been interesting so far this season, and in particular because of one person.
Yeah, and for us, Ange Postecoglou, relieved of his duties at Nottingham Forest. Whether he gets another crack in the Premier League, short term, definitely not. He might have to go back to Scotland to ply his trade, somewhere in Saudi Arabia, who knows. But yeah, he's done. Was it the right call for him in hindsight to take a job just like that? Probably not, but, we all feel sorry for Ange. But the record showed he didn't have a win in that 39-day period. So, irrespective, as they say, the show goes on. There'll be other Premier League managers sacked, I reckon, before the end of the season, just the nature of the beast. And as it stands, Liverpool, I think they won overnight in the Champions League, but they've had a pretty tough time, which seems really strange because they've had so much quality in terms of recruiting and value to their group. But they've also, obviously, they're trying to go back-to-back, and in any sport, that's difficult. So, for instance, this weekend, Arsenal is probably the shortest price favourite going around at $1.40 against Crystal Palace. And Man United, who had a big win over Liverpool, we talked about that. They're at $2.05 at home to Brighton, and we'll start slight favourites there. Elsewhere, Chelsea at $1.40 over Sunderland Saturday night at 10 o'clock. So they're the games initially that capture your attention. leading into the weekend. But Liverpool is the watch because of their indifferent form.
Yeah, I back them in against Brentford. I think they'll get over the top of them. The Nottingham Forest, they'll be looking to get on the board with the change of coach. They're up against Bournemouth, who are going pretty well at the moment as well. Arsenal beat Crystal Palace. The interesting two games with teams who are right up in the top is Chelsea and Sunderland, because Sunderland are in about 5th or 6th spot. And Manchester United with that Brighton game. It was the first time in years that they'd won 2 in a row when they beat Liverpool the other day. So they're looking down for 3, and it's Manchester United.
It's amazing that I don't know if I've been to Old Trafford for a tour of the facility, and it's such a club with such rich history. But nowadays, that type of stat, you think, well, back in the Alec Ferguson era, it was just, talk about winning 2 in a row. You're winning 6, 7, 8 in a row. So, it's been a turbulent time. Look, it's great. I think it's great for the competition to see them starting to emerge. I mean, Man City's the other team that we saw their troubles last year, but they'll start, favourites against Aston Villa, $1.78 as we speak with Tab Touch in that one. So, look, you know what? And I'll be honest with you, I love on a Saturday night being able to sit back and have a beverage, maybe a shelter, and watch the Premier League. It's perfect time, sort of 7:30 game. This Saturday, it's a 10 o'clock game to kick us off. And, it's very nice to try and put together a multi.
Well, I'll tell you what, the last time we were at Bali, I was actually in Bali the weekend before I saw you as well on a buck show. And we went, it seems like I have been there a lot.
You were there for the grand final, were you?
Yeah, and I was there for the grand final. But I went into this pub with some of the old Freo dudes, and we rolled in, and it was the AFLW to kick things off. And then it was the racing from then on, and then it was the EPL. It was a night of nights.
Yeah, it's great. Look, and because of the time zone for the EPL, it is absolutely perfect. So on that basis, looking forward to what's to come this weekend. And as you say, there's some question marks against several teams. It is a bit of a marathon, though, isn't it? A bit like the NBA. And we're only 10 games in or 10 matches into the season, but there's obviously a bit of a trend developing, and really interesting to see which team can challenge, and hopefully it's a more open title fight. But also, what's interesting is also the relegation zone and which teams are going to be struggling to get out and try and hold on. So, that'll take shape probably later in the season, but all eyes. There's much fascination as to who's going to get the lemon, as to who's going to finish top 4.
Have you watched Welcome to Wrexham, by the way?
I haven't, but I've heard it's great.
Do yourself a favour, because they were non-league, and this team is now in the championship. So if Ryan Reynolds and Ryan McElhaney can get these guys into the
That'll
top
be a story.
flight, would be ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they're buying their team, but they're sponsoring the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So they've got the cash.
And that's the great thing about the Premier League. And there's only been, the standout story for me over the journey, digressing a bit here, is when Leicester City wins the EPL title, which is, you're just not going to see that again, or rarely, because that was the Cinderella story by 1,000 miles. I mean, their budget, their squad, it just came together. But you know what? The manager, I'm pretty sure he got the sack 6 months later after they won the title. So that's just the vagaries of the EPL and how cutthroat it is. And we think AFL is pretty tenuous. Well, managers in the EPL, they know that they're one bad season or maybe 1 month away of bad form from getting the chop.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, we're going to move on to racing not quickly, because we're going to spend some time here. I'm very excited about this. Well, I've not been able to do this before, Skeet.
Yeah, no, a bit the same. And look, I know, having sat with you, you study the form, you've got good contacts, you really invest in your punting Saturday, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. A big day on Saturday with me mates from school. We just rolled down to the local pub and got stuck into it, and I was seeing them well, thanks to Tab Touch, seeing them well. And when you start seeing them well, for everybody out there who loves chuck a couple of bets on, is when you don't put any pressure on yourself.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Basically, my best punting is when I concede, I'm out of form, I've got no chance. Yeah. And then when you just walk away with no care, that's when invariably something good happens. So, but obviously you go in with all good intentions, as you'll do this weekend, because it's a Cox Plate and it's got so much hanging on. I mentioned the Belgravia Stakes at Ascot, Northern Cup on Sunday. So there's, and even Moonee Valley on Friday night. There's a lot to like about this time of the year, particularly, off the back of what we saw with the Everest. Now, in brief, talking racing, we'll get down to the Cox Plate in a second. If we're going to draw a list of the 3 most prestigious races in Australia now, were you prepared to put the Everest, given what we saw last week in the last couple of years, and given what's to come in the next couple of weeks? Has it jumped up a bit?
Second. I'll stay with the Melbourne Cup, although finding a winner for the Melbourne Cup, really, he's got to do what my mum did when she jumped on Tab Touch years ago. Now, it's many years ago, but she scooped the pool. It's difficult to get the Melbourne Cup winner, but it's still the race that everyone in Australia...
It's obstination.
Yeah, and people who aren't passionately involved in racing and or not really involved in racing get an opportunity to see the industry. It used to be the Cox Plate, and I'll say used to only for this year would be number 2, maybe even close to number 1, right? As the best race. But this year it's not. And we'll get to that race in a second. This year it's up for grabs, and it's not a great rendition, but the Everest was everything, Skeet.
You're right. And the crowds, people that went there just raved about what they've done there. Now, whether Peter Volandi's, it's great for New South Wales. In fact, it is good for racing, full stop. But I think what's happened is because of the King Charles last week,
yes,
I think and it was a terrific race, but 3 or 4 of those runners probably would have been set for the Cox Plate. That's not the case. We're down to a field of 8 now, given Globe has been scratched,
yes,
which takes away another element of the race because a front-running galloper, which I think Via Sistina would have appreciated. So, yeah, look, I think you're right. It's a bit of a weak field. Unfortunately, that's where the Cox Plate is at the moment. Hopefully the dynamics change, because remember that a lot of people said this is the best 2 minutes in Australian sport. Which is and you think of the history, whether it's Winks winning multiple 4 in a row, whether it's going back to Kingston Town and what it did back in the 80s. It was Waverley Star, Bone Crusher, some great moments in Cox Plate history.
The great Northerly here in WA, back to back.
It is one of those races that I think stands out. This year, he still might have that romance, because if Via Sistina does win as an 8-year-old mare, which would be a history-making performance, you've got J Mac involved. Huey Bowman's come down from Hong Kong to ride. So perhaps we'll still get that fairy tale or storyline we want. I think, though, Shawnee, because some of the fancied runners, including Via Sistina, haven't been in super form, I think she's finished 3rd her last couple of runs, that's probably taken a bit of the gloss out of the build-up. But this has been set for her, as Chris Waller would say, as her grand final.
Yeah, we'll stay with this race now because we've got stuck into it already. By the way, before we do that, Bet Loop is a new it is a new punting addition to the Tab Touch app, right? And I was having a look at this, Skeet.
Yes.
So what it is you can jump on Tab Touch, jump onto Bet Loop, which comes up, and then you can follow people that you want to get some bets on or some tips on. So there'll be people, not just the experts, who will put their own avatar out there.
Yeah.
Skeeter, you can follow Skeeter and see what he's got as his best bets for the weekend. If you're following
me, you're in a world of pain. But no, you're right. We'll keep you in a loop with Bet Loop, and I've looked through the app and how it all is set up. It's just a great innovation. And as you say, if you can get just a nugget of information or supporting what you think, or maybe giving you a different point of view with a galloper or a race, then I think it's worth having a look. Bet Loop as part of Tap Touch and the spring/summer of racing.
Yeah, and you know what? You always find these guys who are out there, they're not the professionals, but they are passionate about there. They'll chuck up multis. You don't have to worry about filling it out yourself. All you have to do is press on the button and you bet their same multi. And again, you can put your own avatar and your own name in there. And last night, I haven't put my bet up yet, but a name suggestion comes up, and I can't remember what mine was, but I changed it to Nighthawk. And I don't know why that came to me. But from now on, the Nighthawk will be on the prowl.
That's you. That's your alias.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I don't know why, but maybe it's because I had an operation yesterday and I was seeing things a bit differently.
Yeah, okay. No, I don't mind it. But so you will be, as part of Bet Loop, you'll be...
Well, anyone can do it. You can try. You let me know and I'll just start following you. You can do it with your friends, obviously.
Yes.
Or you come across someone, as I said, who's a bit off Broadway, but you go, hey, this guy keeps pulling winners up.
Yeah.
This is what I want to be a part of.
No, I like it, and it's particularly this time of the year, as you say, because a lot of people, they like racing, but they're not experts. And I put myself in that category. I love the racing, but because busy lives, you don't get the time to do the form that I'm sure you would like to do as well, more time on the form, but this gives you maybe a bit of a head start.
All right, well, I'm going to start with Friday night at the Valley. We'll go Friday, then we'll go into Ascot and Randwick, and then we'll finish on a big high to Moonee Valley for the Cox Plate itself. But if we start at Moonee Valley, because it's a 2-day carnival, I was having a look at some of the bets in this one, Skeet. I'll get you to jump on to race 2 right now.
Yep.
Invincible Woman, ridden by our great WA jockey, Damien Lane. And if you have a read, Skeet, you'll find it's paying at the moment. You can tell me.
Just waiting for my app to my phone to get up. So that is tomorrow, and it's a bit slow. This, to be honest, I've got the one bar happening at the moment, but I'm pushing through. Here we go. The Valley race number 2. It'll slowly come up. This is the MSC Science Handicap at 3:45 our time.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I'm not busy.
Early start. So you're looking at the fixed, and as we speak, Sustainable is at 460. What was the galloper you mentioned?
Invincible Woman.
That's at $5 for Damien Lane, as you said, off a spell. Carrying 57, coming out of barrier 6.
Yeah, so the reason I'm throwing this one up in the air is because its first race start was at Caulfield. I watched it, demolished them. And then they gave it a bit of a break and it headed up to the Magic Millions in the Gold Coast, and it ran nowhere. But they obviously thought a lot of this horse. So it hasn't raced since. Damien Lane was the jockey at Caulfield, and he went up to the Gold Coast to ride it as well. So I just think, I'm drawing a bit of a line there. That might be a good way to start on a Friday. I've got 5 ones we can quickly go through. Race 3 as well. There's a horse called Amuletto, and it's Kieran Maher, and it's stepping up in distance. And I don't know if you are the same, but I see a Kieran Maher horse that starts running on from, in particular the 14 to the 16, 16 to the 2000, and he gets his horses fit. I just see that as a really good bet. Yeah,
310 on fixed as we speak. As you said, caught the eye, made ground late. As you mentioned, race was over at Caulfield, but it's been it's had plenty of miles under its legs now to perhaps provide something. Drops in grade, steps up in trip. That probably is the angle that you're looking at. And an Irish galloper with a price at 310. So we'll start favourite most likely. Ethan Brown on board, Kieran Maher, pretty handy combination.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'll get you to jump on race 4, and I'm going to throw out 2 bets here because there's a horse in it that I've followed a little bit, and that is My Temptation. And that's playing, you can tell me in a second what they're playing, but Enver Yusufovic, I think that's his name. I'll get that really stuffed up then, no doubt about it. But it's starting to hit form. Craig Williams jumps on, I reckon. And the other one is Happy Tears, Skeet, Charlotte Littlefield. Just take us through the prices on those 2.
Yeah, so My Temptation, Craig Williams, coming out of barrier 5, carrying 59.5 kilos. So a bit of pudding there to absorb, but $3.50 and $1.65 on fixed as we speak. So that's a progressive type, primed to perform second up according to Tab Touch. And down the page, Happy Tears, number 10 for Bo Mertens and Charlotte Littlefield. There's actually won twice in its past 3 starts. Coming out of barrier 11 at $7. So that's probably a decent guide as to each way value there. Struggled to go with them early, but balanced up, ran on pretty well. A 2-length 5th at Bendigo. So probably, on the basis of that, the numbers and the form line suggest Happy Tears at $7 is each way.
Yeah.
But the favourite at this stage, and most likely to start that way, is My Temptation.
And the main race of the day is race 7. It's the Moonee Valley Gold Cup. And there was one horse that's, you can check if it's still in there for me, Gilded Water.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think it's running at Geelong in the next hour, of which we're filming of this morning.
But bear in mind, the Geelong Cup had a major setback yesterday with wild winds, and so most of the meeting was abandoned, wasn't it? And then they're racing today again. So that's why you questioned about Gilded Water, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because I do believe it'll go around in the first one. So if you take that out, and by the way, Gilded Water, if you watched its last start, which I did, and I watched it when we were in Bali, and I had a bit of a dip at it, Skeet, because I just thought this thing's home and home. Jamie Mellom rode it. And I swear to God, someone should have talked to her after the race. Did you think this was a 1,400-metre race, not a 2,500-metre ratre? She went out like a scolded cat. And it reminded me of many years ago, Michelle Payne did the same to Prince of Penzance before the Melbourne Cup. Prince of Penzance paid $100 that day.
I know.
And it was the same deal. And she went out, and I was thinking, She's out by 100 metres. She's out by 100 metres coming into the home turn. And, of course, it runs third because
it's hit the brick wall.
It started running through quicksand as we all would.
Yeah.
But it has to be winning either today, Geelong, and I give it a chance in the Melbourne Cup. All right, now I've said enough about that. But Smoke and Romans, I heard Kieran Maher talk about Smoke and Romans in this race. He says it runs well at the Valley and it's just starting to hit its right form at the moment. What are we looking at with that one?
So $10 for Smoke and Romans, so the New Zealander, coming out of gate 10, 56.5, Ben Mellum. Speaking of connections, to Jamie, Kieran Maher there. So, look, it was no match in the Underwood Stakes, 5.5 lengths, Group 1 over 1,800 metres, but was pretty prominent with the leaders, gave backers every hope. The Herbert Power, 1.7 lengths off them there.
Not bad.
Likes this track and distance, which is important.
Yep.
And the Herbert Power run was pretty brave. So at $10, obviously, that's an each-way option. Gilded Water, if it does run in the Gold Cup. Obviously, the winner of this race gets automatic qualification, I believe, to the Melbourne Cup.
They also think that if they get the win at Geelong, you get a penalty and you'll be able to slip in as well.
Okay, so there's two ways.
And speaking of the Geelong Cup, last year's winner, One Smooth Operator, is running in the Moonee Valley Gold Cup. It's Friday night.
Yes.
So we'll be able to get, that hasn't had I was looking back in its form, hasn't had a good run of form, but it's been in the UK. It came down here and burned them away in the Geelong Cup last year. It was scratched because of the wind. It was going to run yesterday, but it's now in this race here. So you've got to have something on.
At $8, Mark Zara, really good jock. We know his strike rate. West Australian, of course, originally coming out of gate 4. 2,500 metres tomorrow night, the Valley, and that time is at 6:15. So Moonee Valley Cup, if you're looking ahead, as you say, for futures, for Cup potential, then this race you probably have to keep an eye on and maybe have a little flutter thanks to Tab Touch.
I will. I think I'll be at the left bank by then, but anyway, I'll make sure I watch
social
it on my
animal
phone.
You are.
It's a busy time of year.
What's
you got to hide. This is the time of year you got to hide, actually. We're going to move on to Randwick. There's only a couple of races I want to touch on.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So we've got race 8, which is the Spring Champion Stakes.
Spring Champion Stakes, yes. Who do you like in that, for what it's worth, Shawnee?
So Arctica's going to be the favourite, and watched its last start over 1,600 metres and really sprinted quickly from the back and went past them like they were standing still. A lot of people are going to go with this Shangri-La Bay.
Boy,
it is? Okay, Shangri-La Boy. So I'm going to go with one of those. I'm not too sure where I'm leaning there. But the WA connection is Federalist at $21. I think it was last time I checked, it was $21. Can you see what it is at the moment?
Federalist at 15 on fixed for Tyler Schiller.
Someone must have seen my tips. It was 21 this morning on Tab Touch.
It's tightened up.
And the reason why the WA punters should have a look at Federalist is because it's out of our great... Can you just have a look at the breeding? Our Great Mare by Bob Peters. Now, he kept the mare, sold the mare, but bought the first foal, which is this one here, Federalist.
The sire, I Invincible, Dam, Arcadia Queen.
Arcadia Queen, the champ. Yeah, so they own a good portion of Federalist, but they own enough to be able to make sure the horse runs in the Bob Peters colours, which we all know.
Beautiful. And Shangri-La Boy at $3.50 on fixed is the favourite in that race, just ahead of Attica for Adam Poronus.
Yeah, that's an interesting. We just call him the Hippo.
The Hippo, yes.
That one. Race 9 is the Invitational, and it's a really expensive race. I think it's a couple of $1 million for this race as well. They've got some cash over there from the leftover from last week's Everest, I think, Skeet. But I think number 3, Miss Rubini, is the one that I want to be with.
Yep, $3.90, $70. Again, Adam Hieronymus is the jock. Pretty good record, very consistent. One spell, second and a second. So it'll start favourite, you expect, although Gangster Granny and Manal are both also in the market. Yeah,
Manal was the last one that's last 2. Miss Rubini the other week, might have been Caulfield or something. It flew to the line first up, I think it was, and absolutely ran a cracker. Righto, I'll keep going with Moonee Valley because we'll go through Saturday and we'll finish with Ascot. Skeet, if that's all right by you.
Let's do that.
All right, so if we go to the main race that we were talking about earlier on, of course, the Cox Plate, I can't see that anyone... So V16, is she less than 230 on Tab Touch at the moment.
225 as we speak, fixed. And yeah, we'll hold favourite. We'll be favourite when they jump. I'm sure about that.
Yes. Now, you've seen this enough to be able to make an opinion on her performances in the last two. So her first race coming back from a spell, it was a cracker. Like, she won at Randwick. She was absolutely flying, and she beat Eliana, who was flying as well. It was a great race. And then she went to Melbourne for a couple of races, and she just ran third, and I think third both times, maybe third and fourth, was it?
Yeah, and again, maybe the tempo of the races, according to Chris Waller, didn't quite suit her. Now, whether that's a bit of a chop out, a bit of a give her an excuse or two, but he honestly believes she's travelling as well as she was this time last year. So that's all you can go on. Chris Waller is a master trainer. So irrespective of what we've seen in the past, say, month with her, I just think that there's going to be providing the race is run on terms that will suit her, and I think she likes some pace in the race. But yeah, this is a type of 8 horses. Yeah, you shouldn't be caught wide or having to do too much extra work. But it's about, I guess, how the speed map looks for various connections.
Yeah, so there's a couple of horses in there that can take care of the speed map, and one that people are talking about is this Light Infantryman. Won the big race here last year. It's Group 1. If it takes up the lead, and the other one is maybe the 3-year-old, which is Nepotism. And I was kind of looking at one that's at big odds, which is Attrition with Craig Williams. It wouldn't surprise me if he was because he's that kind of out of the box thinker that he might. It's a horse that kind of runs on the speed anyway, but between, I would think, Attrition and Treasure of the Moment will be always handy. There's not really that leader. Light Infantryman I threw up, but if someone takes the scruff of the net and has a crack, I could see it maybe being Craig Williams. He's that type of dude. But on the other case, how the hell does Via Sistina win this race if, realistically, if you're the jockey, right, there's no pace in the race, you jump to the front and then you just bottle them up the whole way. And then,
sprint.
Yep, and then you just bang. Because then you're saying to Via Sistina and the better horses than you, like what Globe did to Treasure of the Moment and Buckaroo the other week, was you're not going to out-sprint me, mate. We're only going a quick 450 metres.
Yeah. So
what do you think?
No, you're probably right. And look, that's, what you do know is that you've got J-Mac on board. So he will know plan A, B, C and D. And look, I'm sure that Chris Waller will say to him, if there's not enough pace in the race, you might have to change your angles a bit here. So, look, without knowing what the plan is and which horse, as you say, whether it's a Williams or another runner that thinks this is my best chance to pinch the race, then, yeah, look, it's going to be fascinating. Again, 8 horses, not a great field apart from Via Sistina. We know that Treasure of the Moment and there's some big raps on Antino. At $4, by the way. But, yeah, so outside of the $2.25 of Via Sistina, Antino at $4, Treasure of the Moment $5.50, and it basically double figures from there on.
Well, I'll tell you what my bet is straight away. It's Antino, because if we're looking to someone to make a run, Blake Shin's going to take off at the 800-metre mark and just put the hammer down. And it sprints quickly if the race shape is that they dawdle a little bit.
Yep.
I'm sure he's going to put handlebars down and just go for it. And then it's up to everybody to run him down.
Yep, no, I agree with that. I'm going to stay with the mare. I know it's an easy call to back the shorty, but I just think Chris Waller, J-Mac, if you're going to err on the side, and I've been at the races many times and go, why didn't I just back the best horse in the race?
Yeah,
because you know why? Yeah. Because you're put off by the price.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah.
And that's that human instinct, because you're thinking, I'm taking pretty skinny odds, but I hope for the romance of the race, the last race in its current format, that she wins, because it just gives it some real gravitas with regards to her standing in the Spring Carnival and the history of the Cox Plate. To go back to back would be pretty special.
Oh, no doubt about it. I agree with you. You can't eat value, as they always say.
Exactly.
Right, there's a couple of other races I want to start off with on Saturday at Moonee Valley, and it's got to be race 1. And the reason why we're picking this horse, or I'm throwing it out there, is for one reason. It's paying $5. It is called Beast Mode. So if you are going to start your day by anything else on a punting day, don't you just go for the name? You
do, but if you like your footy and you like Hawthorn, perhaps there's a bit of there's a bit of Alan Jeans there or John Kennedy. Don't hope, do.
Oh, I did say that one.
That's at $5.50 for Harry Coffee. So you're right, beast mode for those that get to the track nice and early over there at Melbourne. What time are they running there? Is it about 9:15, you said? Very early in the piece, race one. Tonkin, the favourite, nominally at least, with fixed at $2.40.
Yeah, it's in good form, but beast mode.
Let's go.
1,000 metres, let's just go. Sets your day up for the rest of the day. There's a couple, race 2 or 3. There's a couple of horses at odds I'd kind of have a look at, but I think we'll go to the JRA Cup, which is, again, that's a big lean towards the Melbourne Cup. And I was listening once again to Kieran Maher, and he was talking about future history in this one. Mm-hmm. So it's had 4 starts. I think you can check this for me, the Valley and or the distance. I'm not too sure. It might just be the distance. Can you tell me what its stats are? I'll go with the distance.
Yeah, let me just, because I've got one bar on my phone. It must have been a little hovel here.
You're not with Optus, are you?
No, I'm with Telstra at the moment, but still waiting for this to pop up. So, but who do you like in the race for what it's worth?
I'm leaning towards 2 horses, which is Future History and Middle Earth. Middle Earth was in the Caulfield Cup and it was a terrible run. They're backing it up, but maybe it's Future History for me. It goes, maybe I'll start leaning towards that. I think it's had 4 starts at the Valley and or over the distance, one or the other, and it's 2 for 2 wins and 2 placings. Yeah,
it hasn't come up on my phone just yet. But so we're going to back. Is one of your bets of the day or not?
My bet of the day is going to come from Ascot. I will throw it out to you at some stage.
Okay. So Moonee Valley, any more to come from there?
Yes, I'm going to go with race 6. Yep. She's a hustler. I think that'll be, that's a really good horse. It gets the right run. It should be winning. It's 275 on Tab Touch this morning, and that might have been adjusted already.
Yes.
As far as that's gone, they're kind of my bets today at the Valley. But I'm pretty keen on probably jumping on Antino, at the 440 or whatever the price is at the moment, just something like that, and maybe Future History and She's a Hustler to have a look at those races in particular. Okay, now that's fair enough. The Valley, it's always a huge day. And for what it's worth, the Cox Plate will be run at race 10, the last race of the day. So if you're with Tab Touch, make sure you get yourself into a prime position either at home or down at your local and have a nibble. It's almost like the Melbourne Cup. Just to be involved in the race is pretty special. Yeah, and I'm going to throw out the quaddie numbers for the Valley, and that starts off at race 7. I think it does, race 7. Still having trouble with that, Dan? One bar on my phone, so I'll have to sort that out. Fantastic. All right. Well, anyway, for what it's worth, the first race I'm going with 3, 4, 5, 8, and I thought we'd be able to see what we're doing. Mine's going to come up. Well, I'm one bar also. Oh, you're one bar also, mate. That must be the new studio. What about your paper there, mate? You've got a paper in your hand. That's all I've got is just some of the basic details for coming up this weekend, including the Belgravia, the Northern Cup, but I don't have the numbers. Full numbers. But I'll try and get back in business before we finish it up. Right, I've got, as I started again, race 1, I've got 3, 4, 5, 8. Race 2, 3, 5 is 5 could go as a solo, but I've kept it in there. 8 and 9. And then I've got 1, 3. And what did I have in the last? I think the Cox Plate is the last race. So I've gone with Antino and Via Sistina. To get you hopefully either across the line. I just can't see anyone else winning that race. I mean, I'm sure Nepotism will run a really good race. There's the 3-year-old in there. I mean, Treasure of the Moment, Buckaroo, Attrition. I mean, they're the only other ones that I'd consider to be any sort of hope. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think you've probably summed it up reasonably well. We move to Ascot. We certainly do. Decent day. A bit of rain around Friday and Saturday, I think, not too bad. So it should be a terrific day. And as we said, the Belgravia Stakes is probably the highlight of the day. William Pike will ride the favourite King of Light in the $125,000 race. He's got some good mounts, actually. The Wizard, he's got KTY, B. Bardot, American Escape, Audio Boy, Flying Frankie, I Love Your Smile, Royal Tornado and Galaxy Affair. So you'd expect him to salute a couple of times. Yeah, absolutely. I want to kick off with race 1 and everyone have a look at the All on Red, which was this is a 2-year-old race, right? Yep. And it jumped from a pretty poor barrier its first race and it just burnt to the front like they were standing still. And I think even though it's top weight, I think that when you've got experience, It really matters. So I kind of think that will kick us off in the day. Race 2 is a horse called First Encounter that's carrying a heavy weight, and Eden Optimism, I think it's Opportunity, which is the Bob Peters horse, which is racing later in the day. They both ran a couple of weeks ago, and they were at the back. They were both fancied massively in betting, but they were at the back of the field, and they sprinted like maniacs at the end, but the race was not run right, and they closed off hard, and I think they're two horses so to follow. But let's go to William Pike's first one, which is in race 3, that I can have a look at. That's American Escape. It's first up, and he rode another horse in the race, I think that may have won the week before or 2 weeks before. He's elected to jump onto another one. So that kind of signals to me that he fancies his Daniel Morton trained galloper more than a horse that's performed well in its previous run, which he rode.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Well, if you follow the changes, don't you? If it's someone of that ilk,
change otherwise, would he?
It's interesting. And like, you know, there's no question that if Pike has got he'll get the choice. He generally gets the call, doesn't he? So if that's the case, then you'd have to believe that he's seen something that has tempted him to make that move. So off the back of that, you've been saving up your best bet for Ascot. Tell all.
It's race 7, Antique Star. And it's ridden by an apprentice that rode Antique Star last time. It was in good form leading up to that. Michael Grantham is the trainer. It's in the cerise and white. The reason why I throw this out, a horse is going from, say, 1,600 or something to 2,000 metres. I always think the first time they run it, they get to a point where they go, holy hell, that is a long way. And they're not quite used to it, to really finishing it off. And the second time they get to run at the distance is when, you know, you've run 2K, the next time you feel a bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I just think that with her on top of this horse, it's second go at a distance, unless she finds massive trouble in running, I think that she'll be getting the chocolates. That's my best of the day.
Best of the day? Yep. I wish I could give you a price, but my phone's not picking up anything at the moment.
Look, Skeet, I'm going to say it was close to $3 as of Thursday morning, but it might have trimmed up already. If you're any good, you would have found it like me.
Yeah, fill up now, early.
Fill up. That's the one for me. So I look forward to a great weekend of racing. It's going to be an absolute corker all day long. Starts Friday. It goes all the way through.
Saturday begins early, of course, given the 3-hour time difference. The Valley, we know Randwick's going to have some good racing, but the highlight being the Cox Plate. The last time, I don't know if you've been to a Cox Plate, but it's a pretty special day. Darryl Braithwaite will be there, and if you'd like to get involved, Tab Touch, of course, will be there across every race that's either it's on the East Coast or West Coast. Of course, Ascot with the Belgravia Stakes. And with odds on, first episode done and dusted. Shawnee Mac, you're up and about and ready to hopefully tip in some winners for the good folk listening and watching.
Well, I was 40 minutes late, Skeet, so I need to do something for our team out there, particularly you, and hopefully we get along and get behind that one Antique Star, and that'll be our first winner of the season.
Yeah, well, odds on. You may as well close up the show then, young man.
Yeah, we'll make sure. Where am I? I'm going to close up the show. Of course I am. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858, or you can visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. The odds that we were talking about, of course, they were done on today, the time of recording, so you need to check them as well. But download the Tab Touch app now. Get involved with Bet Loop. It's all happening with Tab Touch, and I look forward to catching you next week, Skeet.
Giddy up.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.